Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa broadcast. I present to you the host, Yinka Olaito.
Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa podcast, a platform where we raise issues many are afraid to discuss. Today, we're looking at disability inclusion from tokenism to shared responsibility, especially in Nigeria and across Africa. We will discuss the background and then I will introduce my guest for today's discussion. Despite about 37 million Nigerians who are PWD, person with disability, many organizations and institutions practice tokenism, offering superficial gestures like inviting a person with disability to an event or highlighting one individual publicity without addressing structural inequality or ensuring meaningful participation of such individual. Today, we are talking about a subject often overlooked within the ecosystem. And that subject had been misunderstood, and that is the issue of disability inclusion. While Nigeria has laws protecting the right of person with disability, the reality on the ground look different from what we see in our laws. Today, we explore how public orientation, advocacy, and awareness can change the story. While advocacy has pushed disability issues as a national agenda, most notably with Discrimination Against Persons with Disability Act 2018, it's also showed that the implementation is very weak and very low and is misunderstood or is not properly appreciated by the public. Law exists, but public orientation is weak. And we are caught in the challenge of a deeper question. How do we move from disability inclusion, from charity and tokenism to right system-based shared responsibility? My guest today is a household name, a disability advocate, a gender inclusion advocate, Susan Kelechi. As an advocate, Susan has been focal in issues affecting people with disability, especially women with disability. And she's highlighting issues that affect gender majorly and all the infrastructural barriers that are working or lowering their ability to participate fully in the society. I'd like to welcome you, Susan Ihouma, to the program today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for the work we do. And we're so excited that you are so passionate about issue of disability inclusion, raising issue about barriers and all of that. So as you have heard, what we're discussing today, I'm sure is very germane to, is something that we are passionate about. And the topic is disability inclusion from tokenism to share responsibility. And therefore, I need your thought in some of the questions that we're going to be discussing. And the first question I want to ask you, Susan, is this. Defining the gap, how will you describe the current state of disability inclusion in Nigeria? Are we mostly practicing tokenism, or are we still where we should be? Are we taking shared responsibility?
Thank you very much for that question. First, I want to thank the organizers of this awesome program. It's an opportunity to amplify the voices of persons with disabilities in Nigeria, especially those who suffer triple jeopardy. I would like to address that. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the fact that we are not where we used to be. At a time in Nigeria, we didn't even have the Disability Act. We fought and, we kept advocating, kept raising awareness until the Disability Act was passed. And so now that we have the Disability Act, it's a step in the right direction. Secondly, we have a National Commission for Persons with Disabilities, which is also saddled with the responsibility of ensuring that Disability Act is implemented. And so the question I would like to see, and some of the conversations, because I am all for accountability, I'm all for transparency. We advocated, we raised our voices, we did peaceful protest and all, and today there's a commission. And we are glad because it also showed we've taken 2 steps forward. Now, the question is the National Commission doing enough to ensure that the implementation of the Disability Act is in place? Because it is their sole mandate to ensure. So now we have said we want a commission that is supposed to oversee these issues. So the question should be, is the commission doing enough to ensure that, the law, the period of moratorium is over, whether it is infrastructural, institutional barrier, or even any form of barrier, it is left for the commission to drive that change. That is one. Two, the Disability Act says that the Ministry of Information is sad with all sense of humility. Is the Ministry of Information actually raising awareness 7 years after the Disability Act? Are we raising awareness, or are we seeing disability issue just like our topic is saying? Are we seeing it as tokenism? Are we seeing it as charity? So it is not prioritized. That is why we don't have awareness. Because for me, I would say that the Ministry of Information has done little, next to nothing, in raising awareness. So if the awareness about the law is low, how do we begin to hold ministries, departments, and agencies accountable?
Thank you for such insight as an opening. Quite a lot of questions to ask. The commission, are they actually up to date? The Ministry of Information and Orientation and Strategy plus Orientation, who should have step up conversation to create awareness and public engagement, are they doing the right thing? These are vital questions that I think that our public will want to know. The other thing I want to ask you is policy versus practice. You have mentioned a part of it. Nigeria has law and aim at protecting the right of person with disability. Why do you think the implementation remain a major challenge to you today?
As a rights holder, with my experience of over 10 years of advocacy, with effective advocacy, I would want to say, and this is not to indict anybody, but this is my opinion, it is not a priority. It is not a priority, because whatever you prioritize, it will not just be beautiful on paper. Laws are not laws if they are not put in place. If they are not effective, they are not useful. They are not useful. You are speaking to me, and there are some persons with disabilities, even in the rural communities, who do not know about the disability law. So of what importance? Of what importance? And that's why part of the things I would also recommend would be, can we begin to move some of our advocacies to the rural area? Enough of the urban, beautiful hotels and all of that. Let's take this advocacy to the grassroots. Yes, because I like the beautiful hotels and all of that, but I have also tested rural advocacy, and I must tell you that there is a huge gap, a very wide one. The people in the rural areas, whatever you do for them, they see it as you offering them help. They do not even see it as their right, as human beings. So there's a lot of mind shifts that needs to happen. And so if our government can begin to prioritize the policies they put in place, things will be better for all of us. Because this, and along the line, even old age brings you to disability, whether you were head of state, whether you are wherever, whoever. Yes, I'm sure some of our leaders who use assistive devices now, if they had known that a day like this will come, they would have expedited the Disability Act. They would have implemented most of these things. But such is life. And so it's better late than never. Let's begin to speak to reality. Let's begin to say it's not, disability issue is not them versus us. Don't say because I don't have a child, I don't have anyone, it's them. It doesn't concern me. Nigeria, we're very spiritual. It's not my portion. I reject it. We are quick to reject. But those of us who have it, we are soaring, we are doing well, we are thriving because we are not dwelling on the disability.
Exactly.
We are not dwelling on that. We've moved past it. So we need to see intentional institutional barriers being broken, infrastructural barriers being broken, socioeconomic barriers being broken intentionally. Engage the community so that you get results. I mean, why sideline over 37 million? That's a huge number to do away with in a country like ours. Thank you.
All right. I like the fact that you say your own opinion, because some people may likely argue with you that they are doing their best. And I share your opinion, to be honest, because there are cases that we raise and the commission and whatever and all other agencies saddled with this responsibility, they seem to turn a blind eye, or they assume that you can go to hell. So your point is valid, and I share that. Now, part of what we're discussing is tokenism. Tokenism in action. Can you share a sample where disability inclusion is more symbolic than meaningful, or than meaningful in workplaces, school? I mean, what that means is that oftentimes we find written materials, posters in schools, in workplace, we are inclusive. We accommodate everybody. But that is what we see. Have you seen an example where that happened to you, or where you have experience where you see tokenism in practice, and when you actually try to assess such institution, workplaces, you find out that those are lies. It is just tokenism, that they don't practice what they say. I'm sure that you said that. I'm sure that I remember you said you've written application here and there, and then there was a time they discovered that you're a person with disability and you didn't hear from them again. Those are part of tokenism we're talking about. So I want you to share your experience, what you have seen as an advocate, as a person with disability, and all of that.
Tokenism is based on the fact that people just feel, let's just give them, let them go.
Let's tick the box.
Which is, I don't know how to feel about that, because the truth remains the fact that even within the disability space, just like every other space, we have professionals. And if you judge me based on the fact that I sit on a wheelchair, you would be losing a pool of talent sitting on a chair, just a chair that only aids mobility. So you would not say that because you see me using a wheelchair, you just go and buy wheelchairs and start distributing. Two persons might be sitting on a wheelchair and our disabilities are different. So the wheelchair that suits me might not be what suits my counterpart who has a spinal cord injury, which means there is absolutely no form of mobility for that person. Whereas I am a polio survivor and I have some level of mobility, but because I am battling with post-polio syndrome, I have to use a wheelchair. But we have seen that come to play. We have seen people have been asked by state governments, to say the least. You train people and you just give them things that are not sustainable. I have 2 degrees from the University of Lagos and I have an OND from Yaba College of Technology. For 11 straight
Technology.
years, I struggled with employment, 11 straight years. And
Oh.
within this time, I gave my time to volunteerism. I was volunteering in the health sector and volunteering in the education sector because I needed to prove that I had value to give. I wasn't going to sit down and wallow in, oh, they didn't give me a job. So I had to start.
MPC.
Even when my colleagues who are also graduates like myself, who also have degrees like mine, are earning more, I had to start small through volunteerism. The problem we have is that people see you as a person with disability instead of sustainable empowerment. They are thinking wheelchair. They are thinking, let me dash her 50K so that she goes. 50K would not pay my transport to go to work for 3 days where I live. 3 days, yes, 50K will not take me to my office for 3 consecutive days. So, and that is why we say disability is expensive. So when you are looking to support a person with disability, whether it is opportunities, whether it is employment, whether it's empowerment, please let it be empowerment in the real sense.
That is
Do not
sustainable.
do make-believe empowerment. It's not good. It's not good. I mean, it's not worth it.
You've made the point that disability is expensive, and I quite agree with you. People do not know that disability is expensive. They think it's cheap, because I know mobility aid is more costlier than some of the what people think. Some wheelchairs are as high as 10 million. Meanwhile, with that amount, you can buy a car. So people need to know that. Talking about Braille, the least you will get for good Braille will be around 1 point something million, 2 million. So disability is not cheap, truly. Truly, it's not cheap. And that we're talking about those ones that, but there are invisible disability and all of that. So we go to a new concern, another concern, impact of disability on life. How does tokenism affect the daily life opportunities and confidence of person with disability in Nigeria? Meaning that if organization and public institution is just ticking the boxes, how does that affect daily life of a person with disability?
Thank you for that fantastic question, because it impacts negatively on the person with disability. You are checking your box, maybe because you feel you are giving the person 5K, 10K, 20K for transport. And I ask again, after transport, what next? What happens to the person? Are you thinking of the long term? Instead of doing things like that, can you co-create these projects with those persons with disability? I consult for organizations. That way, I am bringing my expertise and lived experience and using it to earn a living. That way, I can independently support myself. Now, a grown adult who had acquired all of these degrees, like I mentioned earlier, and I didn't have a job for 11 years, it means my parents, and I'm the first child, my parents were feeding me, clothing me, paying for shelter, and every other thing. That is why you see that most times the mental health, if you think your mental health as a person without
That's what I want
disability
to raise, mental health.
is messed up, then think of a person who is dependent. I also know
Truly.
persons with disability who depend on others. They have caregivers because they are
Exactly.
paraplegic. Their hands cannot do things. So they have one or two persons who they have to pay to give them a bath, to cook for them, to do the daily chores. I have someone who comes into my house every weekend to come and do my cleaning. And I have to pay. Because there's a limit to the things I can do. That's the truth. So I have to get in. So imagine where all these things are the things that make life easy for you. Ordinarily, I should have a live-in caregiver.
Exactly.
But because I can't afford it, I have to manage my housekeeper just come in on Saturdays, clean and go. So imagine what it does to the psyche of a person who does not have money or any of these things. And that person is depending on people who might even be abusing them. Because I also have friends who have people who are caregivers who feel that they are burdens to them.
Exactly.
So you see, it messes up your confidence as a human being. It messes up your psyche because you are wondering, since I can't get a job, even when I've struggled to get employment, or when I've struggled to at least start a business of my own, why am I here? What am I doing? So such people will never see it that the future is bright. Some of us are dogged, not because we want to be, but because God has helped us.
That's true.
Yes.
I hope government realize the impact of tokenism on person with disability, what it does, mental health especially, and the fact that the more government can support and implement the law, the better for average person with disability, because without means of sustenance, you depend a lot of people. And most people with disability can really be independent if given all the necessary things. The fact is also that the exposure to various form of violence, gender-based and all of that, inappropriate touching, because a caregiver, like you just gave an example of somebody who needs somebody to birth them, inappropriate touching and all of that are part of things that tokenism can cause if we don't do the right thing. So let's move to shared responsibility. What does shared responsibility in disability inclusion actually look like? Which sector of the stakeholder must take the lead in ensuring that the issue of implementation and all of that become a shared responsibility? You have said that the commission has a role. You have also said that Ministry of Information has a role in ensuring that people properly understand what disability is. So, in your own opinion, shared responsibility, which of the stakeholders should take the lead?
Truth is, first we have the National Commission at the national level. They have to lead this conversation because that is the primary reason why they were established in the first instance. Organizations of persons with disability, are we asking the right questions? Across all sectors, there is no sector that exists in isolation from disability, whether it's transport, employment, health, what have you. It is everybody's business, including organization of persons with disability and persons with disabilities themselves. We need to start holding the commission, the government accountable. 7 years on, where are we? What has changed? What needs to be done? We don't need to politicize implementation of the Disability Act. Because these are some of the problems. It is being politicized and it's not good for the community. We need to be sure that the people we have in these positions are people who are professionals, people who can deliver. It is not about party. It is not about man, no man, because every time, part of the problem is, if you think of Susan, someone will say, no, that lady, she will break this table we have been hiding. Let's keep it this way. Let's keep it low. But the more you continue to shut people, the more you continue to shut down people, the more so many people continue to wallow in mental health issues, the more many people continue to stay in isolation as a result of their disability. Everyone has a role to play. Your platform is playing your role, and that is amplifying our voices, bringing someone who is an expert, who also has lived experience to share. You are also playing a role. It is when we leave it, because most times I have noticed that we leave it for organization of persons with disability. So most times it's only persons with disability who are championing our cause. It should not be so. It should not be so. Everyone, all hands, all ministries, departments, and agencies should be, yes.
Thank you. You raise an issue that is very vital to us, especially for us also because we are also involved in the ecosystem. Some of the frontline person with disability, we discovered that some of them are not actually active in this. They just want to pretend as if they do not see anything happening to the community. They feel that it's not everybody that is like you. They feel that God has buttered their own bread. They pass through the needle eye, and therefore every other person can. So we need more of people like you to be vocal, to step up conversation in every platform, as much as every other person will have to do. Okay, I will merge the next two questions because of our time. Number one, I want you to speak to cultural and social barriers. How has social attitude affected issue or limit the disability inclusion in Nigeria? Number two, private sector role. How can businesses move beyond compliance to actively include persons with disability in their day-to-day activities?
For cultural barriers, we need to understand that cultural and social barriers, we need to move from that era where we see persons with disabilities as people who are forsaken by the gods, people who are outcasts, people whose parents must have cheated, you know, where people with disabilities, yes, where people in the rural areas do not even see them as people who are fit to lead. In our rural areas, we still have that cultural bias where people don't see persons with disability as people who are fit to lead because you have one impairment or the other. For social barriers, we need to stop the attitudinal barrier. If I don't tell you that I have a disability or you don't see me on a wheelchair, you would not know that I have one. If I was just having a podcast and all of that, we should stop the attitudinal barrier. Hey, yeah, sorry, no. We've moved past that. That is in the past. What next? We should be solution driven. We should be embracing diversity. We should cut out all of the social barriers that impede persons with disability. On Sunday, I was asking how many of our worship centers are accessible? How many of our even cinemas are accessible? Or are we not supposed to go out and watch movies? How many of our event centers are accessible? These are some of the social barriers that happen. And for those people who do not employ persons with disability, the private sector has a role to play. Corporate social responsibility, they can channel it into platforms that promote disability inclusion to ensure that everyone embraces diversity. It's not only for the government. The private sector should also key into it. Because I mean, what is the intervention or whatever service you are doing if it doesn't also provide for the needs of persons with disability? So this is an opportunity for private sector to tap into various opportunities that promote equity, inclusion, diversity, to ensure that no one is left behind. We can't leave it for government. We can't leave it for organization of persons with disabilities. All hands must be on deck to break infrastructural barriers, attitudinal barriers, and institutional barriers that stop persons with disabilities.
Let's ask. I will make the last two questions because of time also. education and empowerment. We've seen that education of person with disability, which is part of something they should enjoy, is being denied. Accessibility to education is also a major factor that is affecting the empowerment of person. I know that education has a vital role in your own life today. Without education, you don't even know what belongs to you or what is your right. So the value of education, one, and then I'd love you to talk about community actions that are necessary, family, and all of that. What is the role of the community in this, in share responsibility? And first, I want you to talk to that one, role of education for person with disability in terms of their empowerment, and then the community and community action that can really lead to a change of attitude for person with disability.
For community action, I would say first I want to address families of persons with disability, whether it's a child, a teenager, or an adult like myself. Embrace your child. Treat your child the way you want others to treat your child, no matter the level of discrimination. First, that person is your child. The way you treat that person will translate to the way the community might not treat the person well. But continue to give your child love. Don't discriminate, don't lock, because I also know, because I have experienced it before, that some parents lock their children with disability. So for me, I would want to say that for communities, do not discriminate against a person with disability. Embrace them just like you will embrace every other person. For those who are qualified for any opportunity, kindly give it to them. We are all one until we begin to embrace diversity. Think about it. What if a person who did not have disability suddenly acquires a disability? Would you throw that person away? If your answer is no, then this is the right time for everyone to embrace every person with disability within a community. For education, the power of education cannot be underestimated. Every child, whether you have a disability or not, deserves inclusive education. The only difference for persons with disability is that what means access to me might not be what is access to another type
To the
of
other person.
disability. Ensure that our inclusive policies on education are implemented to the latter. Ensure that we have trained teachers that will support these people. Ensure that our restrooms, my yoga, there's too much to talk about. Ensure that even the restrooms in this school are accessible. I have been to certain places, I cried to leave those places. I was doing a research and I had to go to some places. And I knew how difficult it was for me to even get to the door. Some of these children have to crawl in this kind of places. Let us give our children with disability holistic, no type of disability behind.
I've been speaking with Susan Kelechi, a disability inclusion advocate focusing on women and gender-based who had raised her voice around infrastructural barriers and social and attitudinal voice. And I can see the passion in her voice. This has been an exciting and very insightful conversation, and I hope that I will have her in another session. Some of the things that you have raised is that disability is very expensive, and then as of today, the moratorium of our law has ended, but we are still weak in implementation. Susan also maintained that, based on our own opinion, we were not where we used to be, but we are not where we are supposed to be after 7 or 8 years of implementation of that law. She had also expressed concern about inaccessibility of most places and why life is difficult for many persons with disability, not because they cannot function, but because the environment and infrastructures are making life difficult for them. It has been a great conversation with Susan Kelechi. Thank you, Susan, for that insightful session. And as we close this session, for our viewers, I'd like to tell you, it is better to prepare for what might happen. Like Susan said, if some of our leaders knew that they will also become a person with disability in their old age today, maybe they will have done better while they are there. I want to thank you for watching this episode. And then if you have anything to say, please send us an email, info@difficultconversationafrica.org. I remain Yinka Olaito, your host. See you in the next edition. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For inquiry, please send an email to info@difficultconversationafrica.org. Telephone 0809 591. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Difficult Conversation Africa. See you soon.